pitch as well. Things are falling apart at Man United again rapidly, and that kind of brings us on to Erik ten Hag. And before we talk about his job, I want to ask this question and see if I can get an answer from you or the viewers who are tuning in. Why has he not addressed this polo midfield? Why is he now? And I want to go to Staffy first on this, because I know you the other day you said, essentially, Casemiro maybe weren't at fault. You're now seeing Kobe being hung out to dry, Amrabat being hung out to dry. Why has this manager not addressed the elephant in the room? And that is that his single pivot approach to these games is one of the biggest reasons we're being destroyed week in, week out.
Because he's being persistent. First of all, he's being stubborn and he's being persistent with the tactic he wants to play, which is that stupid 3-1-6. We went back to it now because now he has Shaw, so he felt comfortable that he could do it, which is not the case. Because you're relying too much on the high press with your eights. Today, you had no chance to press anyways. Because there's a few times, if you go back and you watch, I think it was in like the first 20 minutes, there's a few times where we executed the press and they bypassed it. And they found it easy to run out our defenders and our lone six. So his tactics haven't worked. Now, the personnel between Casemiro and Kobe, that changed because none of us here thinks that Kobe had a bad game. We just know he can't do it on his own. That's the difference. So that Kobe-Casemiro conversation is different than the tactic. The tactic remains the same. The tactic remains the high press. The tactic remains use McTominay pressing up high next to Bruno because he has the physical ability to do so. But what happens when he doesn't do so? We don't have the personnel to cover behind him. We don't have the personnel. We actually, you said it bang on, Terry. Maguire and Shaw are the reason we didn't get embarrassed today. Because we could have easily conceded a few more. That free kick that hit the bar could have went in. We could have conceded a lot more today. Today was damage limitation. But until when is the manager going to persist with a tactic that doesn't fit anyone? And this is why when I said weeks ago, Ten Hag out, it's not because I just want to get so angry at Ten Hag and say, oh, get him out, this and that. I saw enough stubbornness and I saw a manager who's pretty much making all his players, including the ones that he bought, look bad. You're not playing to anyone's strength. You're being stubborn. I just saw, by the way, a shocking stat right now. I don't even think you guys knew this. The last time we beat a top 8 team away from home, Oli was the manager.
Yeah, I said at the top of the show,
I didn't even know that.
I said at the top of the show that the stat is Man United have not won away from home against a team starting in the top 8 for 26 months.
I didn't know that until now.
It was a 3-0 against Spurs in the SACKED of all things as well. That's
it was in the
SACKED.
Yeah, the irony. The irony. Yeah, it's ridiculous how bad that record is, and it's listen. I get exactly where you're coming from with Ten Hag. Like Dizzy, from your point of view, are you getting to a point where you're losing faith in this manager being able to turn it round? Because I know you've said this. We've all sat here on these United streams in the last 2, 3, 4 years and gone, how is he not seeing what we are all seeing? It is glaringly obvious what the problems are, but yet every week it's never addressed.
And you know what? Here's really quickly, you asked for somebody to try and find the defense of Rashford. Here's how I'll defend him and the other players that we have just to a little degree. Obviously, they're still at fault for a large portion of what we're seeing at the moment. But one, if you come into work in any field of work, if you come into a work environment from a psychological standpoint where nothing is going well, nothing is good in the hood, everything is falling apart, and then your boss or your manager or whoever it is giving you instructions that don't seem to make sense and don't seem to be addressing what the issue is from week to week. Let's say you have a team meeting and you're like, okay, last week X went wrong, let's work on that. And then all of the instructions in the week that follow have absolutely nothing to do with addressing the issue. I can see how you could grow in contempt. I can see how you can grow in apathy. I can see how you can grow in frustration and not know where you're supposed to be going. And because it looked to me like the players were trying, but it didn't look like they know what they were trying to do, to me personally. And I've always said games are won and lost in the midfield battle. And we had a balanced-ish midfield last season, which after obviously we got humbled by Brighton and who was the other team at the start of the season? Brentford. We had somewhat of a balanced midfield with a double pivot. And why he abandoned that, I don't know. But I said this. I think I keep reiterating this. That I said this maybe week 4 that this season for me was over from then because I saw the warning signs that we're not going to be competing for anything meaningful. We're not even going to be competing for what looks like progression to United fans. And how he turns it around, I think there's so many personnel that don't look happy. There's so many personnel that don't look like they know what they're doing. His guys are now starting from the bench, and I don't see how they come back into the team. I don't see how he fixes it because I don't know if he knows what he's trying to do because all of the things that he's trying to implement aren't working, and all of the players that he brought in to implement whatever it is that he was trying to implement don't seem to be working either. So we could blame the injury crisis, but at this point, what we're waiting for, Lissandro and Casemiro to come back. Is that going to move the needle for real? I don't think so. So I don't see how he makes it past Christmas, other than the board are gonna be stubborn with let Jim come in and fix it. But I don't know if Jim will fix this one. I'm not
Dizzy,
gonna
the,
lie.
Dizzy, the closest thing to Lissandro in that back line is Shaw. Okay, he's the closest thing that could do what Lissandro does. Have you seen since Shaw came in any improvement on the ball? You would be lying to yourself if you think so.
Bro,
Because I rate Shaw. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I said that when Shaw was injured, people I think in the TFT United chat, people were saying,
I said
when
it too.
Shaw
Don't
comes
worry.
back, we'll be back to something that looks like. I'm like, bro, in fact, we've had Luke Shaw here for 10 years. We know exactly who he is, and we know exactly what's gonna happen.
But it's not even about that. That's not the point.
It's not
I
gonna
agree
change
with
anything.
you, because I said we're gonna look better when it comes in, but it's been better in like little glimpses on the ball. The bigger picture, nothing has changed because you finally got the only left-sided center back outside of Lissandro, who we all know that we actually all sit here and argue that probably that's his best position instead of left back. We're still not building well from the back, and it's not down to him, by the way. I'm just talking about the structure. It's not down to him. The structure doesn't look good. The midfield still doesn't look good, and we're still getting dominated. And the reason I'm saying that it's not just because we lost today, is because we beat Everton and we didn't control the midfield. We tied with Galatasaray and we didn't control the midfield. And today we lost and we didn't control the midfield. That's 3 games in a row that he used. Yes, granted, today was a center back, and last 2 games he was a left back, but still, you still had him in the back line, and you still can't play out the back.
Well, but the elephant in the room.
Terry.
Yeah. Sorry, just quickly. Just quickly on that point. You've got Diego Dallo playing left back, respectfully. Just because he can play there doesn't mean he should be there. You've got a Reguilon at left back, who's, in my opinion, since he's come, has been dominating on that left side. He had a great start. He's been fit enough now for the past couple of games to be starting games. If you've got Luke Shaw at left centre back, surely Reguilon would have a better relationship with Luke Shaw there, 100%. Playing that Dallo at fullback as a left back when defensively he's shocking. He defensively is shocking. You don't know whether he's going to have a 2 out of 10 or he's going to put one top bin or get a sick assist. Wan-Bissaka offensively is better than Diego Dallo on the ball. That's crazy. People don't see that. He's statistically better. He actually beats his man. He actually can get out of tight spaces. He actually doesn't lose the ball as often. He just looks ugly doing it. He's an ugly footballer. But that's why I say about aesthetics means nothing. Everything about effectiveness has to happen above aesthetics. If you're effective enough in what you do, I don't care whether you look cool on the ball or not. Because a misplaced pass is a misplaced pass. If you're getting shagged in defense, you're getting shagged in defense. It should not matter. As long as you are effective enough. Diego Dallo for me is literally Marcus Rashford. Purple patch. He'll have 3 out of 10 games, then he'll have a 6 out of 10, then he'll have a 9 out of 10. Everyone's going, oh my gosh, look at that Diego Dallo. He's too inconsistent for me.
To answer your question, Terry. Sorry, like Terry asked the question, so I want to answer it because we've gone on tangents. In terms of Ten Hag, and as someone who's not been Ten Hag out straight away, I've been Ten Hag, fix it because I believe you can. 2 things is happening. The main thing that everyone believes is happening is he's seeing the problems and he's choosing not to fix it because he's stubborn and he wants to play this way. Or number 2 is that he can't see what's going on and genuinely believes everything is fine. Both scenarios is not good enough and an issue. And this is where, as someone who's wanted Ten Hag to work out, who believes in Ten Hag, or did believe in Ten Hag to figure it out, and someone who believed that, you know what, for the better of Man United, we have to go through pain to get further along. he's making it hard for me to even believe that. Like this pain, if it was pain as in like say look at Newcastle. They lose to Bournemouth. They draw against PSG. They lose games in the Champions League, but they're still progressing as a club. So the pain that they go through in those scenarios, you can bear it because you know that you're going forwards. We're going through pain as a team and as a club just to go backwards. And that's where my faith in Ten Hag is waning, because I don't go into any single game believing we can win. Scraping a draw is a miracle at this moment in time. Getting my forwards to score is a prayer on prayer on prayer right now. To score more than 3 goals and win is a prayer on prayer on prayer right now. That's how I'm feeling as a Man United fan. And my view on Ten Hag is, you're a boss. Listen, you might have to be the first. You talk about sacrificial lambs? Yo, Ten Hag might be have to be the first one when Jim comes in. If we're really going to see change, if we're really going to see the Paul Mitchells, the Italian brother, or the French brother, whoever the former CEO of Juve, if we're going to see him come in, we're going to see all this new football structure come in, they have to say, listen, you gotta go, because you've created an environment that doesn't work. You've created an environment for the players that is not conducive to play football. You've got to go. Then they can look at the players, and whoever it is, honestly, I do not care. The only one I care about is Kobe Mainoo. The rest of them, if they come in and say, guys, listen, all of you are going. We're going to sell you in the next 2 years. All of you gone, get looking for teams. I'll be okay with it. But right now, the issue is the system. The issue is the players not fitting in and being unbalanced. And you have to look at the manager to do that. I think Ten Hag fell victim to his own arrogance. Because I was watching the game, I was like, you know what? If this was in Holland, this might work. This tactic might be the thing in Holland. If you go to another country, it might be the thing. It might work. But it's not working in the Premier League. And you're choosing not to fix it. And so, therefore, your own arrogance is blinding you from what's happening.
You know what's crazy, KG?
Ten Hag, as much as I like you, and I believe you can be a great coach, honestly, my friend, you are making it hard, and you are literally, for the better of Man United, I think it actually might be time for you to go when Sir Jim comes in. I don't know.
KJ, today, not only did his tactic not work, there was no plan B. We only started threatening them when they got tired. There was like 15 minutes left. They pressed us the whole game. They managed to only get 1 goal, and that's shame on them because they should have put that game to bed early. And then they started getting tired. Like, you can't press for 90 minutes. That's when they start conceding a little bit to us. And they didn't have really option on the bench because they have injuries. The thing is, I was waiting for halftime. I was like, you know what? Sometimes you need halftime. You need a breather. And then I looked at it. I'm like, bro, you don't have a different way to play this game. Because if you can't build from the back, what's the second option? Is to play long ball. We tried both in the first half, and both of them didn't work. And then I looked at my option on the bench. People thought bringing on Højlund is gonna be a stationary player where he wins the ball with his head or whatever. I'm like, it's not even his strength. I looked at it and I'm like, this is, I would say, 90% of the team that you either chose or re-signed or just bought in the summer, whatever it is, and you can't get any of them to play any way. Like, you can't even play. I was like, we need to play Ollie ball in the second half, but then it hit me. We are trying Ollie ball, and it's not working. Because every time we went long, no one was bringing the ball down. Every time we won the ball, they contested us right away and won it. They won all their duels, and we couldn't.
Mate, and this is it. And there's a super chat here from Mr. Thomas here that says, you can't say that nothing changes until the Glazers leave, then trust them to hire a new manager since they are not going anywhere. Ten Hag has to be given time to make mistakes and mold his team. Glory Man United, and he says at least 3 seasons. Look, I understand where you're coming from, and that's where you start to. I'm not a reductionist, and I've said this already, Mr. Thomas, and I know you've seen many videos. I know you watch my videos. I don't believe sacking Ten Hag ultimately fixes us in the long term, gets us back to the top of the league, and will make us, with the money we spend, one of the best teams in the world again. I'm not saying that will be the outcome. In fact, every time we've sacked a manager in the last 10 years, barring David Moyes, I've said if we don't fix the fundamental problems at the club, a new manager will only take us so far. My issue with Ten Hag isn't so much that we're losing the games as we are now and not giving him time. I can't give a manager time who is trying to implement a style of play that I do not believe he has the ability to. You would not hire Sam Allardyce to try and play football like Eddie Howe. If your club has built you wouldn't bring him to Brighton. You wouldn't even bring him to Bournemouth these days. They try for a club their size, they try and play good football. Newcastle are trying to play a certain way. They're not going to go from Eddie Howe. One day, probably, Eddie Howe will be replaced. They're not going to go for somebody who is the complete adjacent, the complete opposite, the complete antithesis of what Eddie Howe and the style of football Newcastle were building is. And that's my problem here. And the manager has said it. And the fact Man United fans are ignoring this scares me. Where he basically said, I'm not trying to play the way you guys fell in love with me playing. I'm trying to do it Man United's way. And for me, that was the ding, ding, ding. That was the moment. So it's not about dislike. I don't think he's a bad coach. I don't think he's bad at what he does. But I think he's trying, like I said before,
I have to push back on that one if I can.
He's an optician who's trying to do brain surgery, and it isn't going to work.